Thank you. Good morning to everyone here with us today, and welcome to Salem's first ever Take a Veteran to School Day. Before we begin our program, I'd like to give all of us a brief background about our program today. Take a Veteran to School Day was developed by the History Channel and began in the year 2007, so it's pretty new. It was designed to help our students learn more about history, more about Veterans Day, and more about our country by way of using the personal experiences of our veterans to help us. We have very important people who will be joining us shortly, and it is important that we show them the respect that they deserve and have earned. I know that each of you will show them your very best, just as they have done their very best for us and our great country. Please stand as we welcome our veterans. Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, Stephen Butler, Hannah DeGarmo, Jessie Gibb, and Rebecca Rogers will sing the Star Spangled Banner. Please continue to stand.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
I'd like to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Kerry Zapala.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming together to honor our veterans. I I join the Salem Central School District and community in thanking our veterans for joining us this morning and giving us the opportunity to honor you for your service to our country. For your heroism and the freedom and opportunity you have given us, we thank you and those who served beside you. Thank you for your service to the United States of America and your valor on land, sea, and air. I would like to introduce and turn the podium over to Mr. Seth Pitts, our Town Supervisor.
Good morning. It's kind of amazing that I'm standing here. I can remember walking in here when it was brand new when I was in 7th grade, so this is makes me feel like real old. But last night the Salem Town Board passed a resolution for honoring Veterans Day, and I'd like to share it with you. The title of it is To Honor the Veterans of Our Country. Whereas, through our history, courageous men and women have donned the uniform of our armed forces and built a noble tradition of faithful and dedicated service in our nation. Whereas Veterans Day has been set aside as both a national and state holiday to honor the 50 million American patriots who answered the call of duty, preserving our freedoms and often making the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas we will never fully repay our debt of gratitude to those men and women who served, were wounded, or even died in battle. And whereas the unwavering commitment of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard men has preserved our freedom and saved millions around the world from tyranny. And whereas we continue to draw inspiration from the heroism and dedication of those who currently serve and sacrifice for the cause of liberty and justice, and now, therefore, it can be resolved that the town of Salem will hereby recognize November 11th, 2011 as Veterans Day. It further be resolved that the town of Salem encourages students and citizens to participate in local Veterans Day activities, honoring the men and women who have stood and watched over America. Thank you.
Alexis Hill and Alex McGregor will now speak about the symbolism of our great American flag.
The definition of a symbol is something representing more than itself. One example is the flag of the United States of America. When the flag was designed, it was meant to represent our country. But in addition to the flag itself being symbolic, each part also has a meaning. The 13 stripes on the flag represent the 13 original colonies of the United States. The 50 stars represent the 50 states of the United States.
Each color also has a symbolic meaning. White represents purity, innocence, and freedom. Blue means vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Red means hardiness, valor, and bravery, and represents the blood of American patriots spilled in protecting our homeland. Finally, the star and the stripe each have a meaning. The star is the symbol of the heavens and the divine goal to which man has always aspired. The stripe is a symbol of a ray of light emanating from the sun. All these symbols create the powerful image known as the Stars and Stripes, Old Glory, the flag of the United States of America.
Now we will hear from Amelia Tremendous, Blake Georgeson, and Ryan Slater about flag etiquette.
Since the United States flag is so meaningful, it should be treated with respect. There is a code of proper flag etiquette, Public Law 94-344-94. Congress and amendments thereto. When the flag is in a ceremony, a parade, or a review, all persons, except those in uniform, should face the flag and stand at attention with the right hand over the heart. Those in uniform should give the military salute. When not in uniform, a man should remove his hat with his right hand and hold it over his left shoulder, his hand being over the heart.
The United States flag should never touch anything beneath it, ground, floor, water, or merchandise. The United States flag should never have anything placed on it. No letter, word, figure, design, picture, or drawing of any kind. The United States flag should never be carried horizontally. It should always be aloft and free.
The United States flag should never be used as wearing apparel, bedding, or drapery, festooned, drawn back, nor up in folds. When the United States flag is in such condition that it is no longer a fitting emblem for display, it should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably in flag disposal ceremonies held by the veterans of foreign wars, the American Legion, or the Boy Scouts of America.
Please join me in welcoming Mayor Ann Dunnigan, who will speak about the history of Veterans Day.
Good morning. Many Americans mistakenly believe that Veterans Day is the day we set aside to honor American military personnel who died in battle or as a result of wounds sustained in combat. That's not quite true. Memorial Day is the day set aside to honor America's war dead. Veterans Day, on the other hand, honors all American veterans, both living and dead. In fact, Veterans Day is largely intended to thank living veterans for their dedicated and loyal service to their country. November 11th of each year is the day that we ensure veterans know that we deeply appreciate the sacrifices they have made to keep our country free. I've been asked to give a little history of the Veterans Day. So it goes back to commemorate the ending of the Great War, which was World War I. An unknown World War I soldier was buried in the highest place of honor in both England and France. These ceremonies took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the end of World War I, which occurred at 11 a.m. November 11th, 1918. When I was in school, we remembered it by saying the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. This day became known internationally as Armistice Day. In 1921, the United States of America followed England and France by laying to rest the remains of an unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. This site became known as the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Today, it is called the Tomb of the Unknowns. Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926 through a congressional resolution. It became a national holiday 12 years later by similar congressional action. The entire world thought that World War I was going to be the war to end all wars. Had that been true, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. But only a few years after the holiday was proclaimed, World War II broke out in Europe. 16.5 million Americans took part, and more than 400,000 American service members died during that war. In 1947, after the end of World War II, Raymond Weeks of Birmingham, Alabama, organized a Veterans Day parade on November 11th to honor all of America's veterans for their loyal and dedicated service. Shortly thereafter, Congressman Edward Reese from Kansas introduced legislation to change the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day in order to honor all veterans who had served in the United States. Realizing that peace was equally preserved by veterans of World War II and Korea, President Eisenhower signed a bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. Now I remember this. A law passed in 1968 changed the national commemoration of Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October. But it soon became extremely apparent, however, that November 11th was a date of historic significance to many Americans, and Congress returned the observance to its traditional date. The restoration of the observance of Veterans Day to November 11th not only preserves the historical significance of the date, but helps focus attention on the important purpose of Veterans Day. It is a celebration to honor Americans' veterans for their patriotism, their love of country, and their willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. Thank you.
I will now turn the program over to Mrs. Kathy Payne and our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade chorus.
Will you be here this December?
to introduce our guests of honor, the veterans who are in attendance with us today. Please, and I know this is hard to do, but please hold your applause until I've read all of their names. And veterans, if you're able, please stand when your name is called. With us today, from the U.S. Marines, Frank Mosso, Floyd Hafner, and Richard Hicklund. From the U.S. Navy, Lee Dawson, Gerald Bulger, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, Mark Cummings, William Clough, and Starlene George. From the U.S. Air Force, Jack Barber, Earl Morrow, Dr. Gene Siglowski, John Pelton, Robert Hunter, and Suzanne Rogers. And from the U.S. Army, Margaret Rood, Harold Gould, Ronald Thomas, John Burns III, Paul Mychek, Mark Eggleston, Ralph Velez, John Holmes, Frank Cochan, Webster Madison Jr., Jared Barber, Gary Miller, Ralph Perkins, Dottie Schneider, Norman Seeger, Jay Wilson, George Gilchrist, and George Christian. If there are any other veterans who are in attendance and I have not mentioned their name, if you would please stand to be recognized. From all of us here, we thank you. We also have 5 individuals with us today who are currently in active duty serving our country. Tommy Waters, Jared Barber, Robert Johnson, Mark Eggleston, and Suzanne Rogers. If there is anyone else here today who is currently serving our country, please stand. And to all of you, I thank you, and we all thank you. Who could not be with us today, but who you might be interested in knowing is a Salem 2011 graduate who will be leaving in January to serve our country in the Army. So to all of you here with us today that have served, are currently serving, or will serve, we honor you and thank you again. Now please join me in welcoming Mr. George Christian from Congressman Chris Gibson's office.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm here because Congressman Gibson couldn't personally be here today to honor the veterans. And I've been asked to share with you the importance of honoring veterans on Veterans Day. It is important that each of us and everyone throughout the country take some time out on Veterans Day and those ceremonies that precede Veterans Day and those that follow to honor some veterans living as well as those who are deceased because in many instances, many of you veterans sitting here today and those in our communities have not been given the recognition that they are entitled to. Oftentimes we go as long as 40 and 50 years before we really identify the significance of your contributions in your military service. So on Veterans Day, each of us in this auditorium, as well as those throughout the community and throughout the United States, should spend some time showing the appreciation for those living and dead as having served in the military. Take some time out, just as was done during the original observance of the holiday. Take a moment of silence and think of all the contributions that these veterans have done. That's the importance of the day. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Willie Linendahl, who has been working with our younger students on something.
A Seattle man, Scott Schroeder, whose father and father-in-law both spent decades in the military, started the Gratitude Campaign to create a universal way to convey thanks to service members who pass on the street or in the community. The Gratitude Campaign is a way for people to say thank you quickly and easily to those who serve. It's a way to say thank you from the bottom of your heart. Scott Schroeder hopes the Gratitude Campaign will spread and believes even if soldiers don't know exactly what the gesture means, they'll realize it is a heartfelt message. It originates with your right hand over your heart as if you're about to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Kindergarten, first and second graders, please stand. On the count of three, let's share our thank you to our veterans from the bottom of our hearts. 1, 2, 3. Now would all students and teachers please stand. On the count of three, give your thank you to our veterans. 1, 2, 3.
Please join me in welcoming Salem's town historian, and I might also add a former principal of Salem Central School, Mr. Al Cormier.
Thank you. I've been asked today to speak to you about Salem's first veteran and first hero. Some of you may not know that General John Williams, who in 1773 came to Salem as a doctor, he was a surgeon and he came across the ocean on a British man-of-war, served on the ship, and then went to Holland, Vermont, where he opened up his medical practice. In 1773, when a smallpox epidemic broke out in Salem, he came here in an attempt to cure those who were suffering from smallpox. In 1775, an unusual thing happened in our country. The people who lived here decided that they wanted to break away from the British government, and therefore we had what we call a group of rebels or patriots attempting to fight the British to get their own independence. In 1775, General Philip Schuyler, for whom Schuylerville is named today, commissioned Dr. Williams with the degree of colonel, and he asked Colonel Williams to create a group of militia, which he did. He formed a regiment of 3 companies of militia and 2 companies of rangers. Now, Colonel Williams fought at the Battle of Bennington, the Battle of Saratoga, and as a Continental soldier in Monmouth, New Jersey, known as the Battle of Monmouth. Even during that period of time, the general always thought about Salem He was very big on education. In fact, it was the general who gave the money and the land to build the first Salem Washington Academy directly across the street from where this school now stands. By 1787, after the Revolutionary War had ended, he was commissioned a brigadier general. He was head of the Charlotte County Militia. Washington County was once known as Charlotte County, then became Washington County to honor General Washington. What you might not know is this. General Williams' spirit seems to have taken hold over all of us here in Salem. And traditional story is that the Gray Man, who was the popular name for General Williams in this building and other places in our community, has a spirit that continues with us and guides us through everything that we do. As I mentioned, he was very strong in education. He was a soldier, and he was a very good surgeon, according to the historical records that we have today. I think most of you know, the elementary children might not know this, but I think the high school students know this, that our athletic teams are based on General Williams, and that's why they're called the Generals. We have the boys team, the Generals, and of course the girls team, the Lady Generals. So he guides us every place. I suspect that even today, his spirit is probably overlooking this assembly, and he's very proud, having been our first hero and first veteran, beginning with the Revolutionary War, to see so many people here today and to honor our veterans. I think if he were here today, he probably would end this part of the program by saying, "Go Generals." I thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Hannah Goldman, one of our 7th graders, who has a poem for us.
It is the Soldier by Father Dennis Edward O'Brien, U.S. Marine Corps. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us the freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who's given us the freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us the freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who's given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag.
And at this time, I will be turning the program over to Mr. Richard Butler, the high school band, and the junior and senior high school chorus.
Now, this number is called a sing-along. If you have a program, the words are on the back, feel free to sing along. If you don't have a program, but you do know some of the words of the songs, please sing along. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us to celebrate Veterans Day and to celebrate our veterans. May you all have a healthy and happy weekend, and as you observe Veterans Day, please thank and recognize our veterans for their dedication, sacrifice, and service they have given and continue to give so you can enjoy the freedom and opportunity you have as Americans. Please stand and honor our veterans. Continue to stand as the flag and our veterans exit the gymnasium.